എൽദോസിനെ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് കാണുന്നത് തേക്കടിയിലെ പക്ഷിനിരീക്ഷണ ക്യാമ്പിൽ വെച്ചാണ്. അതിനു മുമ്പ് തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹവുമായിട്ട് കത്തിടപാടുകൾ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഈ ക്യാമ്പിന് ശേഷം പിന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തെ അടുത്ത ദിവസങ്ങളിൽ തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ വീട് അന്വേഷിച്ച് കോതമംഗലത്ത് പോകാനിടയായി. അന്നു മുതൽ തുടങ്ങിയ ഒരു സൗഹൃദമാണ് അദ്ദേഹം മരിക്കുന്നത് വരെ തുറന്നു പോയിരുന്നത്. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ അദ്ദേഹമായിട്ട് ഇടപഴകിയിരുന്നത് ഞാൻ കോതമംഗലത്ത് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴാണ്. അന്ന് ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് ശേഷമുള്ള ഫ്രീ ടൈമിൽ മിക്കവാറും എല്ലാ ദിവസങ്ങളിലും തന്നെ ഞാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് പോയി ഞങ്ങൾ പോത്താങ്കണ്ടിലോ ഇടമലയാറിലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ തട്ടേക്കാട് തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ചില വാണ്ടേജ് പോയിൻറ്റ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ബേഡ്സിനെ മാക്സിമം കാണാവുന്നത്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വേനൽക്കാലത്ത് വെള്ളം പറ്റി വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ആ വെള്ളം കെട്ടിക്കിടക്കുന്ന സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ ഇവർ കൂട്ടമായിട്ട് വെള്ളം കുടിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന സ്ഥലങ്ങൾ, അവിടെ ഇരുന്ന് ഒത്തിരി കാട്ടുപക്ഷികളെ എനിക്കറിയാം, ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലാത്ത ഒത്തിരി കാട്ടുപക്ഷികളെ വളരെ അടുത്ത് കാണാനായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സാഹചര്യം ഉണ്ടായി. ഏറ്റവും മറക്കാനാവാത്ത ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ കുടുംബസമേതം ഈ മാക്കാച്ചിക്കാട ഫ്രോഗ്മൂത്തിനെ കാണാൻ പോകുന്നത്. രാത്രിയിലാണ്. കാട്ടിൽ സാധാ ഒരു ചെരുപ്പും ഇട്ടാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ പോകുന്നത്. വളരെ ഇപ്പോഴും ഓർക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും വളരെ ഒരു റിസ്ക്കാണ് അന്ന് എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത് തോന്നി. എങ്കിലും അദ്ദേഹം ഇതിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദം ഞങ്ങളെ കേൾപ്പിക്കുകയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിൻ്റെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന സ്ഥലം കാണിച്ചു തരികയും ചെയ്തു. പിറ്റേന്ന് ആ സ്ഥലത്ത് പകൽ സമയത്ത് പോവുകയും ഈ പക്ഷികളെ അവിടെ തന്നെ കാണാനിടയാവുകയും ചെയ്തു. പിന്നീട് ഇടക്കാലത്ത് സൗകര്യം കിട്ടുമ്പോഴൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾ യാത്രകൾ നടത്തുമായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും കൂടെ ചേർന്ന് മൂന്നാറിലേക്ക് നടത്തിയൊരു യാത്ര, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അവിടെ അദ്ദേഹം ഈ ഇടിവിൽ സ്വിഫ്റ്റിൻ്റെ കൂട് കാണിച്ചു തന്ന കാര്യം, പിന്നെ കോതവേടിൻ്റെ മുകളിൽ കോതക്കിളിയെ കണ്ടുപിടുത്താനുള്ള ഗ്രാസ് ബേഡിനെ കണ്ടെത്തിയ ആ യാത്ര, ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിൽ അപൂർവമായിട്ട് എന്നും മറക്കാതെ കിടക്കുന്ന സംഭവങ്ങളാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ കുടുംബവും എൻ്റെ കുടുംബവും തമ്മിൽ വളരെ അടുത്ത ബന്ധമാണ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. എല്ലാവരും തന്നെ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും വളരെ അടുത്തറിയാവുന്ന ആൾക്കാരായിരുന്നു. യാത്രയാണെങ്കിലും അല്ലെ അവർ പോകുന്ന സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലാണെങ്കിലും ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാം തന്നെയും അങ്ങനെ വളരെ അടുത്ത് ഇടപഴകിയിരുന്ന ആൾക്കാരാണ്. പക്ഷേ ദൗർഭാഗ്യവശാൽ ഇങ്ങനൊരു സംഭവം ഉണ്ടാവുകയും ഇത്തരം ഒരു വിധിക്ക് കീഴ്പ്പെടുകയും ചെയ്തതിൽ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും വളരെയധികം സന്തോഷം, വളരെയധികം സങ്കടമുണ്ട്. അതിൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ കുടുംബത്തിനോടുള്ള അനുശോചനം അറിയിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു.
So like that, this is like one of my first trips with him, and then it was like a constant go-to person for me, for any birds, the western gut species for example, for that. And not only about that, I could discuss with him about any birds, because he used to ask me, "Oh Jainy, where did you go? What birds did you see?" And sometimes when I tell him that okay, this is what I got, and he used to just clap, "Oh, Kitty-o," like that. Kitty-o is like, did you get it in Malayalam, so that way, that is the way he used to express his joy. And I have not seen anyone with that kind of passion. So then another incident which another experience which I have very close to my heart is like about the Ceylon Bay owl. Ceylon Bay owl, of late it has become like an easy kind of target for many birders, but back then when I saw it like in 2012 or something like that, it was very tough to spot that owl. So I expressed my desire to see this owl, and then he said, okay, you come like at 3 a.m. in Tattekad, that there's a bridge just in front of the Tattekad sanctuary about that river. So he told me, you meet me at 3 a.m. And my mother was like, wow, what, you're going to go at 3 to reach 3 a.m. there, you have to start from home at 2, and you are really going to do that? And I told yes. So then I took my car and then I went there, and sharp, like I was there 5 minutes before. He always told me about that, Jainy, you keep the time, at least 5 minutes before you are there, and that I really really appreciate. So he had that kind of respect and appreciation towards me. So I was just there 5 minutes before 3 a.m. and I picked him up in the car, and then we went to the Urlantani forest area. And then he said, like, what is our our strategy should be like, we will reach there like around for 35 minutes it will take from Thatekar to reach the Urlantani forest area. So that is where one of the best areas for Ceylon Bay owl. So we the strategy, as I said, was like to see the bird, to hear the call of the bird, and then in the night, these owls have a kind of habit to make the roosting call in the early mornings, so that if we hear the call from where track the call, the area from which the call is coming, we could go there and then search for it in the dawn. That was the idea. Okay, then we reached there and it was like slightly drizzling and all that. But then he said, you sit in the car. We will first use the playback so that we will know where the bird is, like that. And I thought, okay. And then around like 3:30, we were just, we were like very, very cautious in that night. I always feel that, indiscretionary, very kind of like, very frequent use of, I'm very against that use of such playback, and I'm sure that Eldhose children always used it with a very much care and discretion. So he told, like, let us do the call like a couple of times, and then let's see whether the bird is responding. So we did that after walking like maybe 15 meters into that forest area. And then we heard this call, and then he asked me, Jainy, did you hear that call? And I said, yes, but it doesn't seem like an owl, because it was so fluty, melodious kind of call, it's like very sweet. It's like, very, very like the flowing kind of, call. And I was very surprised. He told me that is the call of Ceylon Bay owl. I thought it was very surprising for me, because almost all the calls which I've heard of owls previously, it's been like a little bit screechy kind of calls. So it was like so much beautiful. I was like, wow, it's beautiful. And both of us were appreciating. He has heard that call many times, many times, I'm sure, in his birding, journey. But this, like, he enjoyed it with me again. So he told me, okay, you go and sit in the car. Let me just search this area, and then when I see the owl, I'll call you. So I sat in the car, and then there was this little pitter patter of the rain, and then he didn't bother any of it. He just went through it, and then I was sitting in the car, and probably I dozed off as well, because in the morning, and then around like 6:30, like when the dawn was there, around like that time, 6:30, 6:45, he called me. He came and he called me, Jainy, no luck. I couldn't spot it. It might have maybe gone somewhere far, because I'm sure if it would have been in that area, roosted in that area, he would have kind of found it. So we said, okay, no problem, we'll try later. Then we thought, okay, anyway, we have come this far, let us just take a stroll and do some other birds. So we went, we just got into the road is just nearby. So we just started walking, and then after like maybe around 10-15 minutes, I can see Eldhose Chetan is trying to kind of, trying to invite my attention to something. I could see that, like from the corner of the eye, he's trying to call me. He didn't want to call like Jainy, or like he didn't want to utter any sound. I could see him like Jainy, like this. And I was like, what is it? Like, wow, he might have seen something. And then I also was like, I slowed down, and then I just looked where his eyes are going, and then I we spotted the Malayan night heron, and that was like just a bonus bird, and it was a lifer for me too. So that was my first sighting of the Malayan night heron and of an adult bird, and I don't think many people have sighted, also birders have sighted that time, and the photographs also were very, very few that time. So it was published in that Kudu magazine, the Nature magazine. They used to publish it like very religiously that time. So it had come in the Kudu magazine as well. That was the bonus bird that time. You know, I always believe that, you know, he is such a keen birder, and, you know, I just got managed one shot, but that is a new bird for me, and he was also happy because he told me that, okay, Jainy, this is a very lovely sighting because it's very difficult. It's a very elusive kind of bird. So that was another kind of my experience with him. Then later on, I think, like, you know, on and off, I had, you know, gathered so many information from him, especially for Andaman birding, because you know, he had, you know, this kind of knack in him to gather all the information of regarding all the birds possible through the clients that used to who used to come to him. So he had a very good idea about his birds, his neighboring birds, and also what is happening outside. He used to take information from me. Likewise, he used to collect information from very many birders and photographers. So I had, you know, immense kind of help from him regarding so many target birds of mine. Painted bush quail in Masinagudi, Tamil Nadu, that area, like Ooty, Masinagudi area. Then about white-bellied minivet. He was the person who gave me the reference of Kuruvi Siddha. Then about so many other, like, you know, scrub birds in Masinagudi. Everything. I mean, most of the south birds and the western Ghats endemics I've seen through him. He was that kind of a person, you know. So always he used to enjoy my photographs, and he used to check, like, if I am with him and I am taking a photograph, he used to do, okay, kannu clear aanalle, that eyes are clear, right? Like that. So he used to have that kind of feeling towards me. He has shown me so many birds, and I will never forget him because he was a true naturalist. I would feel that, you know, he had so much of passion in him, so much of ideas in his mind, that wherever, like, he also told me once, like, Jainy, many people are telling so much, like, you know, many people have problems with meat feeding birds and all that, but, you know, can I ask you one thing, like, how can you see or appreciate something which you basically cannot perceive or see? So that was his idea. He wanted to get the birds closer so that people can see, people can appreciate. More than money, I think he had this passion that, you know, all his birds, all the birds should come. You know, he told me about how much time he might have taken to get the pitta closer to his feeding station. He might have spent a lot of time because pitta was always, you know, always in the forest. So, you know, to get it close day by day, month by month, you know, it might have been quite a humongous effort, I would think. So this was his passion towards wherever the birds are. He always used to feel that, okay, I should buy probably some property here so that we can start feeding. His idea was plain and simple. I think he wanted people to see the bird so that people appreciate its beauty, and so that will be spread, you know. So that was his idea. It was not like, you know, feeding the birds or making money out of it. That's what I personally think. It was his love and passion towards birds. So that is what I can say. I have so many things to speak about him, but, you know, to cut it short, this is what I would like to say today. And thank you for this opportunity. And I mean, it's a loss for all of us. You know, it was like, he would have been like, you know, a mentor, like for me, like the birder in me, the photographer in me. He had played a very significant role to mentor me. You know, he has like spent, like, it might have been little things for him. Maybe he might have imparted his knowledge to very many people. I'm sure Praveen has a lot to speak about him, like the Suresh sir, then Satyan Marsh. All these people, they have worked with him very, very closely. The little time which I had spent with him, this is like, you know, I will never forget him. So whenever I see a bird, I would always remember him, because I used to tell him that, you know, this is what I said, and this is what I saw, and this is what I want to do, all that. But unfortunately, like, you know, in the past, because of the pandemic and all that, I couldn't go to his place. Like after 2018, after my conversation with him about blue-breasted quail, I couldn't go to his place. So I feel a little bit sad. I felt like, you know, kind of I could have gone. Actually, I wanted to go. Like after, now that a little bit lull is there in the pandemic, I hope that this will be the end of it. So I wanted to go and, like, you know, see what are the birds there. Though I had, like, you know, I used to talk to Sanu and all that, what are the latest birds seen and all that. I wanted to go, I wanted to meet him, but then, you know, unfortunately I did not get that chance. And that's it from me. Thank you so much. And let us just, you know, pray for his, like, you know, for his soul, and, you know, let him rest in peace. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
ശ്രീ KV എൽദോസിനെ ആദ്യമായി പരിചയപ്പെടുന്നത് 1987 തേക്കടി പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷണ ക്യാമ്പിലാണ്. കേരളത്തിൽ ആദ്യമായിട്ടൊരു പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷണ ക്യാമ്പ് നടത്തുന്നത് തേക്കടിയിലാണ്. കേരള നെറ്റ് സൊസൈറ്റിയുടെ ആഭിമുഖ്യത്തിൽ പ്രൊഫസർ KK നീലകണ്ഠൻ എന്തുടൻ സാറിൻ്റെ നേതൃത്വത്തിൽ നടത്തിയ ക്യാമ്പിലാണ് തട്ടേക്കാട് കീരമ്പാറയ്ക്കടുത്തുള്ള ഒരു ഗ്രാമത്തിൽ നിന്നും എത്തിയ എൽദോസിനെ പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തുന്നത്. അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു കർഷകൻ എന്നാണ് പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തിയത്. പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷകനായ കർഷകനും വളരെ അതിശയം തോന്നി. കാരണം ഇന്നത്തെ കാലത്ത് പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷകർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വലിയ സാധാരണ രീതിയിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷണത്തിൽ വരാത്തൊരു കാലഘട്ടമായി. പക്ഷേ കർഷകനായ എൽദോസ് വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് അദ്ദേഹം തന്നെ വീട്ടിന് ചുറ്റും കാണുന്ന കാട്ടുപക്ഷികളെക്കുറിച്ച് വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് വിവരിക്കുകയും അതിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ അനുകരിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങൾക്കെല്ലാം വളരെ അതിശയമായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെയാണ് എൽദോസുമായുള്ള സൗഹൃദം ആരംഭിക്കുന്നത്. ആ സൗഹൃദം ഇന്നുവരെയും തുടർന്നു. ശ്രീ KV എൽദോസ് പക്ഷികളെ വളരെ നന്നായി മനസ്സിലാക്കിയിരുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. അദ്ദേഹം പക്ഷികളുടെ ജീവിതചര്യകളെക്കുറിച്ചും അവയുടെ ശബ്ദങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചും അവ ഓരോ കാലത്തും പുറപ്പെടുവിക്കുന്ന ശബ്ദങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചും ഇത്ര ഗഹനമായി മനസ്സിലാക്കിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷകൻ കേരളത്തിലുണ്ടാവത്തില്ല. അതിന് കാരണം അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഡെഡിക്കേഷനായിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹം മഴയെന്നോ വെയിലെന്നോ രാത്രിയെന്നോ പകലെന്നോ ഇല്ലാതെ അദ്ദേഹം പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷണത്തിനായി വളരെ കാലം ചിലവിട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. തട്ടേക്കാടിലെ ഓരോ മുക്കും മൂലയും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് അറിയാമായിരുന്നു. ഇടമലയാർക്കാടുകളിലെയും അതുപോലെ പുതത്താൻകെട്ടിലെയും ഓരോ വഴികളും പക്ഷികളെ തേടിയുള്ള യാത്രയിൽ അദ്ദേഹം കണ്ടെത്തിയിരുന്നു. തട്ടേക്കാടിലെ മാക്കാച്ചിക്കാടകളെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള പഠനമാണ് എൽദോസിനെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പ്രശസ്തനാക്കിയത്. മാക്കാച്ചിക്കാടയുടെ ജീവിതചര്യവും അതിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദവും, ശ്രീലങ്ക ഫ്ലോക്ക് മോത്ത് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്ന അതിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദവും അത് എവിടെയൊക്കെ കാണും എന്നെല്ലാം അദ്ദേഹം മനസ്സിലാക്കുകയും അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള വിവരം ലോകത്തിന് നൽകുകയും ചെയ്തു. അതാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട സംഭാവന. പിന്നീട് കാട്ടുരാച്ചക്കു, ചെവിയൻ രാച്ചക്കു ഇതുപോലുള്ള രാത്രിഞ്ചരമായ പക്ഷികളെ അദ്ദേഹം വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാക്കുകയും പഠിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. എൽദോസിൻ്റെ മറ്റൊരു പ്രത്യേകത അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് പക്ഷികളെ ശബ്ദം വളരെ വിദഗ്ധമായി അനുകരിക്കാൻ കഴിയുമായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ എൽദോസിൻ്റെ ഒരു യാത്രയ്ക്ക് പോകുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് വളരെ കോൺഫിഡൻസോടെ പോകാൻ പറ്റും. ഏത് പക്ഷിയുടെ ശബ്ദം കേട്ടാലും അദ്ദേഹം ഉടനെ അത് ഈ പക്ഷിയാണ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇന്ന പക്ഷിയാണെന്ന് അദ്ദേഹം പറയുമായിരുന്നു ശബ്ദം കൊണ്ട്. ചില പക്ഷികൾ അദ്ദേഹം ശബ്ദം കൊണ്ട് അടുത്ത് വരുത്തി നമുക്ക് വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് നിരീക്ഷിക്കാനും കഴിയുമായിരുന്നു. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും അത് വളരെ അധികം നമുക്ക് അത്ഭുതമുണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു സംഭവമാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തോടൊപ്പം തട്ടേക്കാട് വളരെയധികം യാത്ര ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഒരു രാത്രിയിൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തോടൊപ്പം തട്ടേക്കാട് സഞ്ചരിക്കുമ്പോൾ വളരെ ദൂരെ ഒരു പക്ഷിയുടെ ശബ്ദം കേട്ടു. അദ്ദേഹം അത് റിപ്ലി മൂങ്ങ എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്ന വളരെ അപൂർവനായിട്ടുള്ള പെനിസുലർ ബേകളുടെ ശബ്ദമാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങൾക്കത് കാണാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹം വിഷമിക്കേണ്ട, ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്കതിനടുത്ത് വരുത്താം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് അദ്ദേഹം അതിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദം അതിവിദഗ്ധമായി അനുകരിക്കുകയും അല്പനിമിഷങ്ങൾക്കകം ഞങ്ങൾ നിന്നിരുന്നതിനടുത്തുള്ളൊരു മരക്കൊമ്പിൽ റിപ്ലി മൂങ്ങ വന്നിരിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. അപ്പോൾ അത്രമാത്രം നമുക്ക് അവിശ്വസനീയമായ ഒരു പക്ഷി നിരീക്ഷണമാണ് എൽദോസ് കാഴ്ചവെച്ചിരുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഇത്ര പെട്ടെന്നുള്ള വേർപാടിൽ വളരെയധികം വിഷമവും സങ്കടവും ഒക്കെ തോന്നുന്നു. എൽദോസ് ഇവിടെ ഇനിയും വളരെ കാലം വേണമായിരുന്നു. പുതിയ യുവതലമുറയ്ക്ക് പക്ഷികളുടെയും കിളിപ്പന്തിരകളുടെയും ലോകത്തേക്ക് പിച്ചുവെച്ച് നടത്തുന്നതിന് എൽദോസിൻ്റെ സേവനം നമുക്ക് ആവശ്യമായിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹം വളരെ പെട്ടെന്ന് നമ്മളെല്ലാം വിട്ട് യാത്രയായി. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് പ്രണാമങ്ങൾ അർപ്പിക്കുന്നു.
I knew Eldhose Certain, as we used to call him, for more than 20 years. I think it was in 1998 when I was birding in the evening at Bhudathangat Reservoir. So when I met Eldhose Certain, he was riding an old scooter and coming towards us. In fact, that day he came to know about a nest of great hornbill, the state bird of Kerala, and he has never seen a nest of a great hornbill. And there was a local who apparently know the location of the nest. but he has to bribe that person by buying him liquor so that he will show him the location of the nest. So Eldhose had actually gone to Idamalayar with that local and bought him liquor, and then he saw the nest and he was coming back with this person behind him. He is almost about to fall, fully drunk. That's how we are actually meeting him. So, and then you should see the curiosity of Eldhose in explaining how the nest was. So there are many such stories of how much effort Eldhose puts in to see some birds and understand birds. He was naturally curious. He has started birding quite long back. He was one of the early disciples of Hindu Jordan or Professor K.K. Nilakandan, who was the first early time bird watcher who actually wrote a lot of books. So he was from that era. And many such stories, for example, in 1990s, I think a BBC crew came to Kerala. They wanted to record the nest of a bird called rufous woodpecker. These rufous woodpecker nest inside ant nest, Climatogaster ant nests. And that's a unique behavior for a particular bird. And they wanted to document it. Through some local contact, they reached Eldhose and requesting him to find a particular nest. Eldhose was so excited. In 2 days, he found 6 nests for them. So that's probably the first documentation of rufous woodpecker breeding, where they found that the woodpecker is actually a parasite of a nest, and the ants actually doesn't benefit anything at all. So similar stories, for example, the Sri Lanka frogmoth, it's a very rare, it used to be known as a very rare nocturnal bird, which very few people have seen it, and nobody knew how it called. So Eldhose went into the night, started searching for it, somehow learned the call. And once he learned the call, he would stick around till dawn. Once the bird rests, he will start going searching in that area, leaf by leaf, twig by twig, till he finds the bird. So that particular strategy is even now followed in Tattekad by many people. And most of the people now who goes to Tattekad with the guides, they are employing these kind of strategies which were first developed by Eldhose. Many birds, rare birds like Sri Lanka bay owls, spot-bellied eagle owls, lady-legged crake, which are all there in Tattekad, and so many people actually see them and go back. They are actually employing the same kind of tactics to find those particular roost spots and show them to the tourists. So that way, he has actually brought Tattekad into the world map of birding as a premier tourist destination where people can actually see all these birds. In fact, his findings doesn't stop at Tattekad. For example, here in the peak summer, he once walked along the Bharatapuzha River in noon time to find the first breeding site of black-bellied tern in Kerala. And that's something remarkable because it's an area where there are people who have birded earlier previously, but nobody has birded in that kind of a peak summer heat. He visited my home once. He wanted to see a bird called cottontail. So I took him to Valaya Dam. So we saw the bird. So he watched it very carefully. And then in 2 weeks, he attended the bird survey in Vembanad. And we went there and he found another 20 of them there. He's a very quick learner. So he actually tries to improve his skills. And if there are new birds, he tries to go there, see it, understand so that he can find it elsewhere. So that's one part of Eldhose where he actually roams around and finds birds. There is another part of Eldhose where he sits in one place and watches birds for a long time. So in Tattekad, in the summer, there are drying streams. So when the water gets lower and lower, the birds will actually flock in those drying streams. And he sits and watches as his birds come and take a dip and go. And he knows the spots, so he goes there, waits there for a long time. Sometimes the stream will dry up. And then what he does, he takes 2 bottles of water, he creates some puddles and waits there again for the birds to come. I think it's that character of waiting and seeing the birds. Sometimes he also, if there's a ripe papaya in his house, he won't pluck it. He will leave it on the tree so that Malabar grey hornbills will come and eat it. So that actually probably created this interest in creating those bird hides which are run by him, where people come there and see some of the birds up close. I think he is also a vastly misunderstood birder. He can, of course, handle tourists and he can handle the regular interaction in any language. He's so comfortable in English, but there is a certain language barrier for long conversation. So some of these interesting stories of bird behavior which we discovered, and how he found all those birds, which are so much a curious thing for people like us. Those stories remain with people from Kerala who can understand Malayalam, and in no way they are getting communicated to all the vast number of tourists who are actually, coming to that place. So that childlike curiosity which is there in Eldhose, people may see a glint on his eyes and the way he walks and talks, but the entire set of stories doesn't actually come out, and they don't get to appreciate that part of Eldhose which some of us know so well. In fact, in December 2020 during Christmas, that was when I last met Eldhose. I went to his house. So he mentioned excitedly that some of the fruiting trees which he planted in early 90s has now become tall, and a species called Malabar pied hornbill, which was not there in Tattekad during that time, has now are now flocking, at least coming back, and they're actually feeding on the same trees he planted. So it's so excited to tell that story that like he doesn't know whether they are actually related. They actually came because of the trees, but he would like to believe that he did something, at least something for that particular bird. So that's the kind of the passion and affection for the birds which Eldhose had, which is something which will be sadly missed by all of us. And he left us very early. He had probably another few decades of birding and imparting education which was left in.